by the people, with the people.
Good afternoon. Today is the 25th of January 2022. Welcome to Lunchtime News here on TV1 for the Newsfirst team. I'm Senida Senanayaka. Before we take a look at the stories for this afternoon in detail, let's take a look at the headlines.
Government to compensate farmers for lost harvests. Paddy to be brought from farmers at 75 rupees a kilo. Omicron variant spreading among school students and teachers. Authorities say no more power cuts. IOC to provide fuel. Sapugaskanda refinery reopening delayed further. Burkina Faso military seizes power and overthrows president.
Now to those stories in detail. Cabinet approval has been granted to compensate all farmers who lost their harvest during the Maha season. Speaking at the Cabinet media briefing today, Agriculture Minister Mahindananda Alutgamage said 40 billion rupees would be allocated for this.
If farmers who cultivated more than 800,000 hectares across the country face losses in their harvest, the Cabinet has granted approval to pay them compensation. The government will allocate 40 billion for that. With the help of the Department of Census and Statistics and the Department of Agrarian Development, we are conducting an assessment on the harvests of farmers through agriculture research officers. This compensation will be applicable to all farmers who cultivated during the Maha season. The Cabinet also granted approval for the Paddy Marketing Board to purchase paddy from farmers at competitive rates with the private sector. Today, we decided that the Paddy Marketing Board will buy a kilo of paddy from farmers at 75 rupees. But consumers don't have to be disturbed by that. We won't increase the cost of rice in the market. The government has decided to import rice. That is because the mafia of rice mill owners had raised the cost of rice up to 150 and 200 rupees in the past. Therefore, the government should have stocks of rice to control these prices. We should also have imported stocks of rice in the country. I was asked whether organic rice is being imported from China. That is still under discussion. We have not reached a final decision on that. We can't provide an assurance that it has been cultivated through organic farming. Considering the accusations leveled by farmers against you, we are surprised that you are still alive. They burn effigies of you every day. We are sad to witness that. But you said compensation will be paid. Will there be conditions for that? Regardless of how many effigies that they burn or attack me, I will continue to stand by this policy. We are trying to produce food that is free of chemicals. We are considering the losses borne by farmers in terms of production. A farmer can usually reap a harvest of 4.5 metric tons from a hectare of land. Let's assume that the harvest has declined by 25 or 50%. All farmers will be entitled to this compensation. There won't be injustices. We will pay compensation for the loss in harvest.
The prices of goods have increased while people remain in the dark due to power cuts. Amidst all of this, farmers are facing many difficulties due to the fertilizer crisis.
The main mode of income for the people of Badulla is tea cultivation. Over 5,000 small tea estate owners reside here. Today, these people are helpless. They did not receive fertilizer for their cultivations. Due to this, their crops have turned yellow. They have not yielded the harvest they expected. Their harvests have been destroyed and these farmers have been left with nothing. Their only request is that a solution be provided to them.
දැන් කිසිම මේ දල්ලක්වත් කඩා ගන්න විදිහක් නැහැ. අපිට වෙන කරන්න රැකියාවක් නැහැ. මේ දළු ගහෙන් තමයි අපි ජීවත් වෙන්නේ. ඔබතුමාලාගෙන් අපි ඉල්ලන්නේ අපිට සහනාධාරය ලබා දෙන්න කියලා.
The All Ceylon Farmers Federation expressed its views on the fertilizer crisis and the decision to import rice to the country. This was during a media briefing in Giritale today.
The government made a foolish decision to ban fertilizer imports. They are making another foolish decision to import rice. What will happen to the local rice harvests when 1 million metric tons of rice is imported to the country? It is clear that they can pocket commissions by importing 1 million metric tons. We wish to tell the government that they can import that variety of rice at less than 60 rupees a kilo, but it is being sold at 130 rupees at shops. Isn't this a mafia? Isn't the minister involved in this? Won't the minister earn commissions through this? If they aren't earning commissions, then they must sell rice at a low cost.
The Matala Laggala Samagi Farmers Organization was established yesterday. Now they are waiting for rice to be supplied from China. They said with great pride that Chinese will provide 1 million metric tons of rice for free. Now the Chinese are saying that nothing will be given free. Look at the state we're in while begging from China. Kalingamaga destroyed the paddy lands during his invasion, yet the damage was not this bad. The country's agriculture is destroyed. This is all due to poor administration and their incapability. It's a curse. Following the advice given by the cowards, we took steps to shift to organic farming in our country in just 24 hours. This hasn't happened anywhere else in the world. Even the United States of America, where he lived, only 3% of the nation has organic farming. It is because of the damage caused to the farmers that country's economy is at such a state. Minister of Power Gamini Lokuge says the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation has given 10,000 metric tons of diesel to the Ceylon Electricity Board. The minister said there would be no need to impose power cuts in the coming days.
We held a meeting with the President at the Presidential Secretariat on the power crisis. A decision was reached to supply the required amount of fuel. As our power plants have been receiving the required amount of fuel, there would be no power cuts. We received 10,000 metric tons of diesel last night.
The minister said measures have been taken to obtain fuel from the Indian Oil Corporation.
We have prepared a loan to obtain fuel directly from the IOC. We are preparing to obtain 30,000 metric tons of fuel from them on a credit basis. We don't know whether we would receive it today. If there are fuel stocks in Sri Lanka, they would supply it from that. Otherwise, they will import it here. We hope to obtain support from the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation as well.
The minister said that power would be purchased from private power plants as well.
There are independent power producers from whom we have purchased power. These power plants are in Sapugaskanda, Amblipitia and Matara. There is one in Hambantota as well. We didn't extend agreements with them in the past because we had hydropower as there was sufficient rain. We held discussions with them to purchase power for 6 months. They said we will have to enter into a 3-year purchase agreement or that we will have to pay more to purchase power. As our hydropower stations were running, we didn't sign the agreement with them. We decided to purchase power from them if there is a requirement.
The Ministry of Energy says the process of unloading fuel from 2 tankers in Sri Lanka's waters will begin this afternoon. Energy Secretary KDR Olga said the letters of credit to pay for the fuel stocks were issued yesterday. She said the stocks of petrol and diesel will be unloaded today. The Ministry of Energy states that the resumption of operations at the Sapugaskanda oil refinery will be delayed further. Its secretary, KDR Olga, said the situation was due to delays in the arrival of a tanker carrying crude oil. The ministry said the refinery is likely to resume operations on the 30th. The Sapugaskanda oil refinery, which was temporarily closed, was scheduled to resume operations tomorrow.
Questions were raised by journalists during the cabinet media briefing today on the decision regarding the power crisis.
දැන් ජනාධිපතිතුමාත් කියලා තිබ්බා මේ විදුලි කප්පාදුවකට යන්න එපා කියලා. නමුත් අපි බැලුවොත් අපේ ප්‍රාදේශීය වාර්තාකරුවන් ඇතුළු අපිට බොහෝ පිරිස් කියනවා යම් යම් ප්‍රදේශවල විදුලි කප්පාදු වීම සිදු වෙලා තියෙනවා. එතකොට ඒ කාරණාවත් එක්ක බැලුවට පස්සේ නිකන් අපිට පේන්නේ කිසි වැඩපිළිවෙලක් නැහැ වගේ. මොකද දැන් ගෑස් සිද්ධිය ගැන බැලුවත් එහෙමයි.
The decision was reached yesterday. We are telling you the decision that was taken during the meeting with the president. The president said this should not take place. Let's see what happens in the future.
As it was mentioned in the headlines, the Education Ministry says it's on high alert as Omicron variant is spreading among children and teachers. The ministry has informed the relevant officials to follow the health guidelines that have been issued so far.
The Deputy Director General of Health Services, Dr. Hemanta Herath, said most people infected with COVID-19 have contracted the Omicron variant.
Many countries have seen waves of infections caused by the Omicron variant. We haven't seen it spread severely in Sri Lanka. We must remind you that the previous waves of infections in Sri Lanka occurred after other countries experienced them because of other variants. Therefore, we can't deny the possibility of a new wave of infections. We conduct more than 8,000 PCR tests daily. We can't send the samples of all these people for gene sequencing. We take one random sample and conduct gene sequencing on it. By doing that, we arrive at an estimate of how many infected people have contracted the Omicron or Delta variants.
ඉන්න රෝගීන්ගෙන් කොයිතරම් ප්‍රතිශතයක් ඔමික්‍රෝන් රෝගීන්ද කොයිතරම් ප්‍රතිශතයක් ඩෙල්ටා රෝගීන්ද කියන එක.
Sri Lanka recorded 14 deaths due to COVID-19 yesterday. Health authorities say 877 infections were detected yesterday after conducting 8,383 PCR tests and 5,703 rapid antigen tests. Sri Lanka's total tally of COVID-19 infections stand at 602,763. Health authorities are urging the public to abide by the relevant health guidelines.
We haven't seen infected cases exceeding our capacity. We aren't witnessing many deaths, but there are more infections being recorded daily. There are several reasons for that. One reason is the Omicron variant. The second is our habits. The people who are enthusiastic to obtain the first and second doses of the vaccine are not showing the same enthusiasm to obtain the booster dose. That is because of the belief that the vaccine would cause problems relating to fertility and the menstrual cycles. But these are only myths.
We have reached more than 90% of the capacity of the Borala Ayurveda hospital. That is because there are more patients. We might experience a new wave of infections if there is no self-discipline. If that happens, we will have to place the country under a lockdown again and close schools as well.
It's been 12 years since the disappearance of journalist Prageet Eknaligoda. A religious ritual was held today seeking justice over his disappearance.
Sandhya Eknaligoda, the wife of missing journalist Prageet Eknaligoda, visited the Patini Devalaya in Navagamuwa yesterday.
Prageet's last known whereabouts on the 24th of January 2010 was in Kaduwala. His voice was last heard in Kaduwala. That's why after 12 years we are conducting this religious ritual on behalf of him, on behalf of hundreds of thousands of missing people in this country. We have taken our first step to come here today.
The wife of the missing journalist then engaged in a religious ritual seeking justice.
Road accidents have killed at least 2 people and left 4 others injured in the last 24 hours across the country.
2 people were killed in a collision in Helambawaba in Notriagama last night. Police said that a 3-wheeler had veered off the road and collided with a tree. 2 people who were injured in the accident are currently receiving treatment at the Anuradhapura Teaching Hospital. Hospital officials said one of them is in a critical condition. 2 residents of the Mahavelithana area in Notriagama are among the deceased. They were returning from a wedding when they experienced a collision. Two people were injured in a head-on collision between three three-wheelers in the Molligoda area in Vadua last night. Police said a three-wheeler collided with two other three-wheelers while trying to overtake another vehicle. The injured are being treated at the Panadura Base Hospital.
Taking a look at your weather update for this afternoon, a slight change in the prevailing dry weather is expected today. Showers or thunder showers will occur at several places in western, Sabargamur and northwestern provinces and in Nuwara Eliya, Gaul and Mathura districts, particularly during the evening or night. Showers will occur at a few places in Anuradhapura and Vavuniya districts during the evening or night. Taking a look at some international news, some 8,500 combat-ready US troops are on high alert to deploy at short notice amidst rising tensions over Ukraine.
Russia continues to deny planning military action against Ukraine despite massing 100,000 troops nearby. President Biden held a video call with European allies yesterday as Western powers aim for a common strategy against Russian aggression. The Pentagon said no decision had yet been made on whether to deploy troops. Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby said that it would only happen if the NATO military alliance decides to activate a rapid reaction force or if the other situation develop around the Russian troop buildup. He added that there are no plans to deploy to Ukraine itself.
As it was mentioned in the headlines, Burkina Faso President Roch Kabore dissolved the government and the National Assembly and suspended the constitution, seizing control of the country after 2 days of unrest at army camps in the capital.
The announcement, signed yesterday by Lieutenant Colonel Paul Henry and read by another officer on state television, said the takeover had been carried out without violence and those detained were in a secure location. It added that the country's borders have also been closed. It cited the deterioration of the security situation and what it described as President Kabore's inability to unite the nation and effectively respond to the challenges it faces. The statement said the MPSR would re-establish constitutional order within a reasonable time, adding that a nationwide nightly curfew would be enforced. The army broadcast came after 2 days of confusion and fear in the capital, where heavy gunfire erupted at army camps on Sunday, with soldiers demanding more support for their fight against armed groups. President Kabore's whereabouts was not immediately known. After the televised announcement, crowds took to the streets, cheering and honking car horns in support of the takeover. People hoped that the coup would ease the devastation that they have endured since jihadist violence spread across the country.
In some news from Pakistan, Pakistan's first female Supreme Court judge has been sworn in Pakistan's capital, Islamabad.
Aisha Malik, aged 55, now sits on a bench with 16 other male colleagues in the Muslim-majority country's top court. Lawyers and activists said it was a rare victory after decades of struggle to get representation for women in Pakistan's male-dominated society. Some lawyers and judges opposed Justice Malik's appointment as she was seen to be less senior than other candidates. Pakistan's judiciary has been historically conservative and male-dominated. According to Human Rights Watch, it is the only South Asian country to have never had a female Supreme Court judge. In addition, only 4% of Pakistan's High Court judges are women. Justice Malik, who is educated at the Pakistan College of Law and Harvard University, has served as a High Court judge in the city of Lahore in eastern Pakistan for the last 2 decades. She is seen to have played an important role in challenging patriarchal legal mores in the province.
And that brings us to here on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I've been Senita Senanayaka. Take care and stay safe.
අපිට වග්ග